I hope you are able to see, and I believe you will be on the screen, this little fella over here, and he has a bag of tricks. And I want to give a little bit of commentary on after the election, just some observations that I had made, and maybe a couple things that may connect into the prophetic. So if you'll just give me your attention for just a few moments. I remember 2016 when Donald Trump was elected president, to the shock of so many people, including the shock of the system and government, I should say federal agencies is a better way of putting it, in Washington, D.C. There had been talk of Russian collusion, Russian election interference. There was all these stories that started coming out, dossiers, and it just seemed like that for the 4 years that he was there, it was one thing after the other after the other. Then when he leaves office and the investigations are released, it was discovered there was no Russian collusion. The dossier was paid for by the other party. There was so much stuff that were actually lies. And this is the after fact. I mean, you can look this up. I'm not making this up. They were lies. And they were promoted by they call it legacy media or the secular media as absolute fact. There was even the laptop story that came out. Oh, that's a fake laptop. That's Russian disinformation. And now they've used the very laptop that the Bag of Tricks crowd said was disinformation, Russian disinformation, and that's how they're trying the case against Hunter Biden. So we see all these things taking place. So when the election went the way it did, which was what one lady said, I can't think of her name, she had a sister that passed away, Diamond and Silk. One of them came out and said, it's got to be too big to rig. And that's actually what happened. It was so large with winning both the electoral votes and also winning the popular vote that there was no way of challenging anything basically anywhere, although they're still counting votes for the House. So when we thought about this, I said to myself, what would be the bag of tricks? And then it started coming out. First of all, there were those in this party that said, we will not let him in the White House because he's a convicted felon. And so that immediately started. One guy was very outspoken, went on his social media and said, we will block him. They have to sign off on everything and then present the transition as Trump being the next president. We will stop it from happening. Then there was a discussion, and I did a YouTube video about this to show hers number 47, Trump is 48, if this was a plan, and that is to Biden step down or something happen and swear her in November, December, even if it's a week before, so she could become the first female president in title and, be sworn in for a brief period of time. There were people, even one of the major networks discussed the possibility of doing that. Then there were little tricks being played to say, let's get one of the older Supreme Court justices to step down and let's put Harris in, which, it takes time to vet somebody, and there's a possibility she would not be vetted to that position anyway. So all these, I call them just little bags of tricks. But what really, I'm going to make a statement here. It's a funny statement, but we played a game with my son when he was young called Donkey Kong. And you might remember it's the big monkey that runs around and barrels are all over the place and he has to jump the barrels and you get points if you remember it. Well, pardon me for saying this. This is just how my mind works sometimes. I call this a Donkey Con because the legacy media tried to con you into things. The extreme liberal media as well tried to con you into believing certain things. And the majority, some believed it, 40%, 45% believed it, but most rejected it. And that's why the election went the way it did. So in saying that, the thing that I'm looking at now, which is almost incredible, is the Democratic Party trying to figure out where did we go wrong. And they have every excuse in the book. Well, we didn't go wrong, they didn't want a woman. Well, we didn't go wrong, they didn't want a woman of color. Or we didn't go wrong because of this and this. Well, we didn't go wrong because Joe should have stepped down early. And it's unbelievable that they're so delusional in their set mind of how they think that they can't figure out. It was lack of policy being presented. There was no policy plan. There were ideas, but no plan to get there. And it was things like, you know, I'm just telling you, the Americans I know, and I know many, do not want a guy in a girl's bathroom, even though he says he's a girl. They don't want guys in women's sports. And there's so many other things. And using your tax dollars for things that were totally, actually, it's not even reasonable. It makes no common sense. And the gangs are getting out of hand. These violent gangs are in 16 cities now. And they would have stayed there had the election gone the other way. And now they're going to work on getting these gang members out. So there was a lot of fear, tricks, scare tactics, tricks, Hitler and fascism, tricks. These are tricks. And the tricks all backfired. And so I just want to say this, that when someone's life is spared twice, once definitely, and you know who I'm talking about here, President-elect Trump, and on another occasion on a golf course, if that guy hadn't been sticking that gun out there, he'd have been at that next hole and he'd been dead. When God does that 2 times, and possibly even 3 with the man that was arrested with 6 different passports at a rally, you have to say to yourself, this is sovereign and something is going on. And what I'm going to conclude with is to say this. I remember when there was a controversial election between Bush and Gore, and Bush, the Supreme Court stepped in and Bush won the election through the state of Florida. And I remember later 9/11 came. And Bush was the right president to have in during the 9/11 crisis. Now, there will be something, and it will probably be a series of things, that's going to happen in which it's going to take extreme boldness from a bold leader to prevent this from happening or to step in and direct it. You know, there's weird signs happening in California. There's weird signs happening on the New Madrid. There's cracks on the Pacific Ocean floor. There's something happening on the West Coast that could create tsunamis. There's going to be some horrible natural disasters the next 4 years. There's going to be things happen in which there has to be a very bold leadership. And I'm going to explain to you one more thing, and I want you to pay attention to this. I never understood all the government waste. And I had someone who once worked for the government who, paid bills and so on, explain this. They said, okay, let's say, and I'm going to use the Pentagon as an example. Let's say a military branch of the Pentagon. So the Pentagon comes in, and this department is given $500 million budget. If in the year they only spend $350 million, and at the end of the year there's $150 million left over, normally they don't get that $150 the next year. So they only get the $350 because that's what they spent. Now they can sign legislation and get them more money if they need it. However, so what they do is at the end of the year, this person worked for the government, they'll go to Las Vegas and party, they'll take trips and just they use that. That's why hammers were like, what was it? $50 and toilet seats $150. People said, what's going on? It doesn't cost that normally. They were spending their budget saying, oh, we spent the $500 million, we need more. So the next year, they're going to get $100 million more. So there is a ton of government waste. And I know that people that work up there are very concerned about losing workers or losing certain pet projects and things of that nature. But it's got to be cleaned up at some time. You can't just keep... If I ran the ministry the way the federal government runs their budget, we would be in a mess. We'd be off of TV. We wouldn't be able to pay the bills. But they can do it, because they control the monetary system as well. So there's a lot of things that people, the average American person doesn't know that goes on that are tricks, maybe, and let me just say this, tricks both parties use, okay? Not just one party, but tricks both parties use. But I just wanted to say that when you see this fella with his hand in the bag, you know that something might be up, okay? Read what I'm saying, read between the lines. Well, this is just little interesting thoughts that I wanted to throw out there. There's a lot more I could say, but I don't like to keep these too long. So if you enjoy our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to reach 1 million subscribers, and you folks can really help us to do that. That's a goal that we're after. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Keep watching our program. Keep watching our YouTube channel as well.
Randolph County 911, where's your emergency?
There is a horse trailer and a dually just hit an SUV, drove it all the way across the road.
Okay, yeah, if you could get, just find out if there's any injuries or entrapment.
There's entrapment, I can tell you that right now.
It was 10 o'clock Saturday morning when I FaceTimed my precious second cousin and very dear friend, telling her about my daughter Amanda preparing to trade in her old vehicle for a new one. I did not know it would be my last conversation with my cousin on the earth. Hours later, I received a call that she'd been killed in an intersection in Elkins, West Virginia. For months, I experienced very intense sorrow while wrestling with so many unanswered questions. Why did God allow a 63-year-old woman, a caregiver with so many future plans, to die so suddenly and without warning? For 3 months, I pored over Scripture almost day and night for answers. Out of my research and personal grief, I wrote this 209-page book called Why Did You Leave Us So Soon? The Mystery of a Premature Death, to answer my questions and also questions you have asked me over the years. Here's a few chapter titles. There's a time to die and a time not to die. The danger of being with the wrong people at the wrong place at the wrong time. Why are some healed and others are not? Why did one person die yet another person survive the same accident? How does a person break a protective hedge? How Christians can commit a sin unto death. Why do infants suddenly pass away? Does God honor a deathbed repentance? Here's a few more. How sinning Christians can be delivered to the will of Satan. The danger of offending your angel. Suicide and questions about eternity. Why are many Christians sick, weak, and many have died young? Why at times when you need an answer does God seem to say nothing? That's only 12 of the 22 chapters in the book. I want to say this, if you've ever lost a loved one to death and you had many unanswered questions, I hope you will order this book. It answers numerous confusing questions about the mystery of why people seem to die before their time. It will also teach you the biblical principles of learning how to discern coming danger and pray against it. That's a very important part of this book as well. When you order this new book, I'm including a very powerful audio CD that my dad said to me before he passed away. Perry, let people hear this. It's one of the most important messages I've ever heard. Don't go to hell over a mystery. You can call 1-888-21-BREAD or order online at perrystone.org or request offer WWS-146 and include $30 by writing Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. Again, that's offer WWS-146. You may not need this book now, but you may need it in the future. I hope you'll order it today.
If you enjoyed this YouTube content, there's an important website you should know about: perrystone.org. Perrystone.org is an essential resource for the latest books, audiovisual presentations, and digital products from Perry Stone Ministries. Resources that cover the same kinds of topics discussed in the program you just watched. Stop in and see all that's available at perrystone.org.